Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Groover. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Welcome to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason Mefford.
And I am Kathy Groover. Or am I? So here's the question.
Ooh.
What's in a name? And let me tell you the quandary that I'm facing. So my legal name is not Kathy. My legal name is Kathleen.
Oh.
I hate the name Kathleen. I am sorry for any Kathleens out there that appreciate their name. I cannot stand my name. I've never gone by Kathleen. No one's ever called me Kathleen. When I was in trouble, my mother didn't even call me Kathleen. And I write Kathy on everything. My passport says Kathy. My bills say Kathy. My airplane things say Kathy. But here's the problem. My driver's license says Kathleen. And TSA is getting pissy with things like Robert, Bob, Kathleen, Kathy, Maria, Marie. I mean, they're getting really pissy with things like that. And a couple trips ago, I was going through TSA, handed them my driver's license. I handed them my ticket. My ticket says Kathy. My driver's license says Kathleen. And the person's like, do you have a nickname? And I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And I went, my mom called me Skunky growing up. And then I said, oh, that's not what you mean. Yeah, I go by Kathy. And they're like, okay. So it's now become sort of a pain in the ass because now I have to carry my passport with me because my passport says Kathy and it matches my ticket. It matches TSA pre-check. It matches all the stuff. So my debate has been, do I legally change my name to Kathy to avoid all this bullshit? And the only hesitation is, but my parents didn't name me that. And then I started to get into this whole who am I thing. I actually would go by Catherine, Katharine, which is not anywhere near my name because that's not written anyplace. And I always thought I would legally change my name to Catherine because I resonate more with that name. But that creates the same problem because everything still says Kathy. So I don't know who the fuck I am. So we're going to figure that out today.
Well, and it's interesting, that your passport actually has Kathy on it, but your driver's license has Kathleen. Right. So I think that should be an easy fix if you take your passport to the DMV and say, look, my name needs to be Kathy instead of Kathleen. DMV will probably change it for you because an official government document has Kathy on it. You may be able to do that, but it brings up, like you said, it brings up a lot bigger issue, right? It's just like, because there is something about names. And again, even though you don't like to be called that, from an astrology standpoint, from, your name and your name number and some of the different things like that, there's a reason why your parents chose to name you Kathleen, even though they never called you that, right? It's like, I remember one of the guys that my mom used to work with, his name was Joe. And so most people whose name is Joe, their real name is Joseph.
Joseph, yeah.
Right? No, his parents named him Joe, Joe. That was what was on his birth certificate because that's what they were going to call him, right? And so, there is probably something to, the name that our parents gave us, because I don't know if I've told the story here, but I was no name Mefford baby. Okay.
No name Mefford.
Yeah, no, my parents, when I was born, I left usually they know what the name is or right away. No, we left the hospital. I didn't know what they were going to call me. Right. I went home without a name. And finally, after about a month, the hospital called my dad and it's like, Mr. Mefford, we need a name because we have to submit the information for the birth certificate to the state. And unless you tell us a name, we have to put no name baby Mefford or something like that on my birth certificate. So again, imagine if my parents had said, we're not going to give him a name. Right, my passport would say "no name, baby Mefford" or something like that, because that's what would be on my birth certificate.
You could be a rapper.
I could be a rapper. I'm no name Mefford, whatever,
No
right?
name baby, no name baby.
But so what was interesting is, when they called him, my dad said, "Well, I don't know. How about Jason? That sounds good."
He like didn't discuss this with your mom. He just
I
threw
don't
the name
know.
out of his
This is
ass.
kind of the story that I heard. So, like I said,
Oh
I
my
don't know if
God.
hopefully they did actually talk about it or something, but yeah, Jason just came to my dad and he didn't know anybody named Jason. He
Wow.
didn't, he didn't, it's obviously it's a name. He didn't know anybody named that. It wasn't familiar to him. And sure enough, my age group for a few years, Jason was about the number one um, baby boy name
Interesting.
that was given. Now, I've never not liked my name, and most people it's an easy enough name to pronounce,
Yeah.
right? But what's interesting is there's some things about my name that I actually really love, right? That as I've gotten older and I am uh learning more about myself, right?
Mhm.
Coming to know who is Jason anyway, right?
Oh, I want
And
to sing so bad. Okay,
I
go
know.
ahead.
Well,
Chorus line.
hey, we
Who
can do
am
whatever we
I
want.
anyway?
Yeah, we can do whatever we want. It's our podcast, right?
That's true.
But so interesting thing, right? Some interesting things. There's a famous person in mythology, Jason and the Argonauts,
It just
right?
popped into my head. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so I kind of identify and relate with that character and that story a little bit too. My name actually means, any idea, Kathy?
Like conqueror or something like that.
Well, it actually means healer.
Really?
Healer. Yeah, the name Jason means healer. So that tells me a little bit about myself too. And then
Hmm.
also, I had somebody, you know, I actually do write real letters and mail to a few people as well, right? Because it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so one of the people, sent me something back and they wrote my name Jasun as a, just kind of a, your little sunshine. And
Hmm.
it's like Yah Sun, right? Yah,
Mm,
J-A is yes in German. And
yeah.
it means other things in other languages as well, but then the word sun, and sun is in my name. And what am I? I'm a Leo, which is Leo is associated with the sun. It's a sun sign. The planetary body associated with Leo is
Hmm.
the sun, right? So for
Wow.
me, my name means a lot to
Hmm.
me, and it's helped me kind of understand better because I like to talk about that I'm really this big ball of light walking around trapped into this human flesh. So
Right.
you could actually see my light, you'd see that I shine as brighter than the sun, right? But am I Jason? No.
Right.
For my higher self, it's just a name that I've been given, in this incarnation, so people
Hmm.
know what to call me instead of "Hey you" or "No baby," no name Mefford baby,
Oh God. Well,
right?
and it's, when people often have a spiritual awakening, they change names. I mean, like we've even had people on the show that used to be called one thing and now call themselves something else. I have so many friends that have changed their name to Grace because they have felt this like the grace of God and they decide to change their name. Mine isn't quite that esoteric. I've always thought about doing that, but then that ruins things like kathygruber.com and kathygruber.coach. And, it's like I'm
Yeah.
too known as Kathy Gruber to shift that. I'm not going to make that change. The reason I was The reason I was named Kathleen is my mother liked the Irish sounding names. So if I was a boy, I was going to be Patrick. I'm going to tell you something. We are zero Irish, 0% Irish. There was no Irish in me anywhere. No Irish. None.
She slept a good Irish brogue, did she?
I did have a sort of red hair when I was born, but it doesn't matter. But it was no Irish. So Kathleen, I'm like, but like she never called me that. It's like they just, and Kathleen, Kathy, Catherine, they all mean the same thing. So it's not like if I would, legally change it to Kathy, it would change the meaning of the name. And let me tell you more about my mother. So Kathleen means pure. My middle
Mm.
name, Lynn, means pure. He was determined.
Your middle name's Lynn?
Yeah. Kathleen
Oh.
Lynn. It's like, that doesn't even work. Why would you do that? So some places Lynn says means pure. Some people Lynn says means lake. So I am either pure lake or pure.
Interesting.
Pure. And what's funny is my first husband's last name meant idiot. So I was pure idiot when I was the first time. One of the meanings of the name could be idiot. So yeah, so I was just like, oh. Okay. Yeah. When I was confirmed, so I was raised Catholic, so I did the commune, confess, confirm. I didn't want to do any of it, but I was forced to. You have to pick your confirmation name. And my grandmother was my most favorite person. She died when I was about 8. Her name was Agnes. And there is a Saint Agnes, good Catholic side of the family, right? So I wanted my confirmation name to be Agnes. And because there wasn't enough for me to do the report on, the nuns would not let me pick Agnes, even though that's the name I desperately wanted. So I picked Catherine. So my full name is Kathleen Lynn Catherine Groover. And I just got to change.
Yeah. Well, and normally it wouldn't matter, right? But the last 20 years and the way the government is doing all this stuff, now all of a sudden it seems to matter to people. It really doesn't matter in the bigger scheme of things, but it does obviously make a difference, especially as everything's getting digitized and all this other stuff, and trying to prove who you are because everybody's trying to pretend that they're somebody else, and all these different things. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's not, for me too. It's like I like my name.
Yeah. What's your middle name?
Lee.
Oh, wow.
So what's interesting, because you said Lynn, a lot of my siblings, their middle name is Lynn.
Yeah.
Which
Lynn
again,
and Lee. That's our generation. Yeah. Lynn and Ann.
So, which again, nobody in my family was named Lynn, so I don't know when my parents were calling everybody Lynn.
That was the name. That was the name.
Yeah.
So many people that I know, it's either like Jessica Ann or Carol Lynn, or it's Lynn and Ann. That was the 70s baby name thing. That was everybody's middle name.
But it's, like I said, even though I like my name, I don't need to be attached to it necessarily.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think sometimes too, if sometimes I've met some people too where, I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I know people all over the world, and I see some really interesting names, right? Or some too where you pronounce it like Catherine, right? Would be there's kind of a common spelling for Catherine, but I've seen some other different spellings like, oh, well, that's Catherine too, but it's spelled very differently.
There's so many different ways to spell Catherine. And I was going to go with the Katharine Hepburn spelling, which is Katharine. For a while, I thought I was going to do Kathryn, which is another way to spell it. Then you've got Ktherin. And then let's not get into the C's, because I'm not a C. I'm so sorry. I'm a K, the right way. I have had fights with other Kathys about this.
Yeah. Are you Kathy with a C or a K? Are you Sarah with an A or an H?
With an A, yeah. Eric with a C or a K. Eric gets that all the time too. So
yeah.
He's a C, I'm a K. So anyway, so I still don't know what I'm going to do. I might actually take my passport to the DMV and see if they'll change it. That's a really good workaround that might.
Yeah, because I know just from other people I know, anytime you end up doing stuff, it's crazy, especially if people have lived in different countries, because I know that like one person, their Australian birth certificate says one thing, but their Australian passport says something else, but their US passport says something else because they've gotten married here. And it's like, to be able to change everything, it's like to go back to Australia and try to get them to actually legally revise the word. There's all this other hoops and everything to go through. So
it's pretty easy here in the States. You put it in the paper for 2 months saying you're changing your name. You file one form, and unless it's weird, the judge just goes, yeah, okay. But it's like they're now putting signs up at TSA that say, you must use your legal name, no nicknames, kind of thing. So they're getting serious about it, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. I don't want to have to walk around with my passport all the time. So we'll see what happens. To be continued.
To be continued. To be continued.
In the meantime, I don't know who I am, but I can be reached at kathygruber.com.
And I think I do know who I am, but I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go.
Unknown baby Jason Mefford. Unknown baby Mefford.
No name baby. So anyway, hopefully that makes you laugh as well. And again, even though names are important, they don't necessarily identify who you actually are. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. See ya.
Yeah.